those you made us want ones.
Oh. My youngest made it. There was a class at the village center that was teaching.
Okay, good evening. It is 7 o'clock, and in the spirit of timeliness, I'd like to welcome you all, and just glad that you're all here to join us for this meeting. So we started at 6 o'clock, and so the meeting has already been open, so we are now back in the open part of the session to join with you. So the first thing I need is approval of the minutes, and we've had 3 minutes since we were last together. We had our regular board meetings in November, we had a curriculum presentation a week later, and then we had a special board meeting after that. So I need approval of all 3 of those minutes, or if you have any concerns, we can talk about that.
So moved.
Second.
Any concerns about anything in those 3 sets of minutes? If not, all in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Thank you. Next, I need approval of the agenda, and we're going to make one slight change. We're going to put our teacher reps right after our student council report prior to our warrior spotlight. And so with that change, any other change, Dr. Brown? So with that small change, I need approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve?
Seconded.
Got one, Rebecca? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So at this point, we do have an opportunity for the public to always address us at each meeting, and they can address us on any topic. I have one person this evening that has asked to address us. I think you know the kind of the plan, Bob, because you've spoken to us before, so about 3 minutes. We kind of time you. Dawn here is going to kind of give you a little motion, but if you want to come up and approach us and let us know what's on your mind tonight, welcome.
Sure. Just want to talk about, you guys are making a big decision, so we've done some great work together as a community, educating the children in Waunakee. Our school district has become really well known for its quality of education, and I believe that our early childhood programs are a part of that. Together, we've really grown the district, providing young students a powerful and valuable early childhood experience and education. To build an equitable contract that allows both the community early childhood centers and the school district to continue to thrive would be building on our current success. So to allow these partnerships to fall apart would be kind of forging into the unknown. We contract with the state, you guys, maybe bringing 4K in-house, that would be something different and not quite as predictable. Our first choice is still to continue to work with the district, and I hope that happens, and I hope that's still your priority as well. In my opinion, the sites have historically done most of the work for less than half of the contract or of the funding price. So I believe you've been receiving $7,200 per student per year. You're providing busing, OT, PT, speech support, training of our 4K educators and administrative expenses. For us to receive less than half the funds, been providing the building, the classroom, the support spaces, the outdoor play spaces, paying the wages, the compensation for the educators, the staff that has to manage those educators, providing all the materials for each student. And then, of course, we have to do our training for our 4K teachers as well, and we have administrative costs too. We have to follow licensing, and there's a lot of administrative stuff there too. That doesn't feel like an equitable contract to us. In your own accounting, I saw that you estimated the district spends about $1,140 per student per year. If you subtract that for the $7,200, that seems to leave a lot of room for the $5,500 per student that we're requesting. I believe the new 4K program state legislation was introduced to try and funnel more money, more taxpayer funds down to the people that are actually working with the children. If we do that, I think wages can be raised so that best educators can be hired and retained, so that classrooms, playgrounds, facilities can be improved and maintained, and so that classroom materials, provocations, and learning environments can be the best that they can be. That's where the 4K early childhood experiences and education really gets better for each of the 4K students. But it's also how our early childhood system gets better and stronger, and that is a community problem too. There is a childcare crisis. A lot of our centers are not doing as well. That's 3 minutes already. Okay. Thank you. Good luck
Thank you
in your
very much.
decision.
Moving on to some reports tonight, starting with our student report. Our student council reps are here, Abigail and Elena. Welcome.
Hi. We're gonna start off with talking about some drama-related things. One act performed in late November at the state level. We had both plays go to state. One of which they had a full sweep, so they won all of the awards, and then 3 individuals were nominated for acting awards. And then the other play got all state and also an ensemble award, and 4 individuals in that play were nominated for acting awards. So it was a really good opportunity for both plays. And then winter play is also starting up. Auditions have already happened, and that play is The Three Musketeers.
And then forensics is already practicing, and their first tournament is coming up next month. And then moving on to some music-related events. On December 11th, the choir concert, and on December 15th, the band concert will happen.
And then, along with that, a cappella sang at the Holiday Light Parade on the 5th. And then this upcoming weekend on Sunday, they will also be taking a trip to go to a bunch of assisted livings in the area to sing for the senior community, which is always a good time. And then as well, Jazz Band in late November had, they recorded a pre-recording for a news channel for a little Christmas special that they did. And then moving on to sports, girls basketball just recently had their parents' night. That was last night. And then boys basketball is also beginning their season here.
Boys swimming and wrestling both had meets on Saturday, and both teams did really well.
The esports team also went to state recently. I think that was in Eau Claire.
And then gymnastics is starting up, and ski and snowboard team is starting soon.
Both boys and girls hockey is also happening right now. And then just this past weekend, dance team had a competition in Verona. The team took home two second places and 1 third place, and a couple of their individual dancers placed as well.
And then moving on to clubs. In student council, we have a couple of events coming up. We have Call an Elf in December, and then our basket raffle is also coming up, and then we have another blood drive.
And then for FFA, a couple of kids just went to a leadership conference. It was an overnight one, so whoever went had a lot of fun. And then they're also getting ready for LDEs, which is a speaking event, and the middle school chapter is also bigger than anything FFA has seen before, which is really good that a lot of younger kids are getting involved, especially in competitions. And then this upcoming Thursday, French Club is having a bake-off, which is a good event. And then Drama Club is also meeting this week, and something that Drama Club offers is working in the PAC. So with the Nutcracker happening last week, it gives a lot of kids involved in that opportunities to learn how to do lights or sound, and then they can also get paid for those opportunities as well, which is cool.
Recently, Eco Club went to Youth Climate Conference, and Skills USA had a competition with 6 awards taken.
And then DECA helped ringing bells for the Salvation Army recently, and FBLA and many other high school clubs helped at the Cookie Walk, which was an event that I think mostly high school clubs were invited to help with. And then we just had one note about school. With finals week coming up, we've heard about some of the changes, especially with classes requiring kids to go, which we think is a fine change, like it makes sense. But we've also heard things about the possibility of getting rid of finals week, which from us as a student standpoint is a little bit of a scary thought, just because we like finals week, not just because it gives us extra time, but it also from a mental health standpoint, since finals week is such a stressful time for students, we've heard a lot of kids worried about that just because it's really nice to have the extra time to study before and after, and also just having the downtime as well after you've had a really big test that oftentimes is worth a large percentage of your grade. It's really nice to have that time afterwards just to wind down and get ready for whatever test you might have the next day or the next hour. So those were just thoughts we had about that.
That's all we have for December.
Thank you. I didn't know there was a discussion about finals week, so that's good to bring to our table too. Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
Do you ladies say that you're open to having the ability of having to stay in even if you don't have an active final?
I think that going into the classes, for me, I'm open to that just because
Yeah.
it makes sense that you should be required to be there, but mostly it's the schedule that us as students really like, having like the 2 classes split between the days.
Sure.
It's nice to not have to go right from a final to 3 more classes for the rest of the day, for example. Like, it's nice to be like, oh, I have 2B and 4B today, and that's all I have to worry about.
Sure. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Next, we have our teacher report. And if you would introduce yourselves to everyone, that would be great.
My name is Katie Anderson. I'm a building rep at the high school.
I'm Sherry Thompson, also a building rep at high school.
So we just have a couple of things to share with you. A couple goings on. Several schools have been promoting positive building culture and belonging among students and staff. For example, in the high school, we have a staff culture club, and in other schools, they've been incorporating fun activities such as spirit days or spirit weeks. Just brings a unifying feeling in the building. And one school reported that they're making an intentional effort of posting student artwork all over the building as much as possible.
Very nice. And we are starting to think, as you guys are, about the upcoming BOE elections. We know that nomination papers are due pretty soon, and we just want to remind you that we are here to vet and support candidates, and the ones who would be best for this position. And then we will probably again be doing providing the opportunity for candidates to participate in a forum that we've done at the intermediate school, and that will be in February.
And along those lines, we're thrilled to share our WTA recertification results. 95% of the staff members who participated voted yes to recertify as the negotiating body for our staff. This is phenomenal because we had the highest percentage of yes votes in our region, which shows strong unity and support among our staff. And we appreciate this positive relationship that we have with the Board of Education. We look forward to continue working with you.
And finally, we are really looking forward to having 2 full weeks to recharge. It's just to have that stretch of time, and we hear about schools coming back Monday, Tuesday, half day. Really, really grateful to have 2 weeks with family and friends and celebrate and recharge. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any questions for our teacher? All right, thank you.
Thanks.
And now we have our Warrior Spotlight for the month. Do you want to introduce those?
Rosa, you want to come on up with the students?
We are lots, yeah.
You may have to.
Oh, okay.
So we'll pull up your slide deck.
Yeah, this is the first. Could I try?
You can have a group sit here, and
Yeah.
then you seat here as well.
You guys.
So just introduce Rosie, Miss Rosie is what I would call you, who petitioned the board last year to take our students on a trip to China, and we're so pleased that you all were able to partake in such a wonderful experience. And so today you all are our Warriors Spotlights, I will say. And so we will turn it over to you, Rosie, and let you take it away. When you need us to advance the slide, just let us know, and we'll go from there. So
Thank
welcome
you.
everybody.
Hi, everyone. Dr. Brown and President Anson, members of the board and the community. My name is Xiuping Rosie Zhu, and I teach Mandarin Chinese at middle and high school. Thank you so much for the opportunity for us to speak. about our field trip to China. And we had 8 students. One student is not available today. So other 7 students are Emily Gallagher and Ian Epps, Stella Gabriel, and Anna Li is the current Chinese club president, and she will share with us how the Chinese club will be run. And Luke Johnson, Sharon Ye, and Megan Murphy, and Kevin Van Dusen. Thank you. Now please, our field trip was from June 14th to 29th, and so please just welcome them to do their presentation. Emily?
You can come on up.
Yeah.
Okay. So the main reason that I feel a lot of us went to China, but especially in like my own personal opinion, was just because it was such an amazing opportunity to be able to go at such, on this like 2-week-long trip at such like a reasonable cost for my family. And also just because I felt as though I wouldn't really have the opportunity to have this learning experience again, like in the near future at least. It would only be something I could do in adulthood. So I decided I would take the risk and go, and I did really enjoy it. It definitely exceeded my expectations in learning about culture and just like learning about how Chinese people go about their daily lives, and what Beijing and Xi'an are both like. So I got to do so many things that I never thought I would have been able to.
Next slide. Next slide.
So we started with a 15-hour flight from Chicago to Hong Kong, and then from there we flew to Beijing, where we stayed for 9 days, and then from there we took a high-speed train to Xi'an, and then stayed there for 4 days.
So one of the main things that we did while we were in Beijing was visit the Beijing Language University. It was filled with students from all over the world, tons of international students. And we got to take classes about Chinese opera. We got to take a panda class where we learned about them and made little clay figures and got to explore and just see everyday locals studying at university.
So a lot of our students' favorite activities during this China trip was getting to go and see the Great Wall. For me, it was something that I never would have imagined I could have experienced. It's kind of one of the things that you like look at a phone and you're like, wow, that's cool that some people get to do that. But it was just so amazing that I was able to actually climb it myself with my friends. And I think one of my favorite memories from the trip is just like how rewarding it was being at the top and seeing just like the view. And then having a tour guide also like teaching us about the history of the wall and why it was built. So that was probably my favorite part of the trip.
So while we were in Beijing, we visited the Forbidden City, which, let me tell you, was gigantic. It was filled with so many just traditional architecture, Chinese buildings, which were so complex and colorful. There were so many beautiful statues, as well as some locals that were dressed in traditional wear, as you can see in those pictures. It was just so beautiful, even watching them take their own photos, posing. It was just so surreal to see all the buildings and how big they were.
Another thing we visited in Beijing was the Temple of Heaven, and I really like that because it is one of the largest ancient structures in China, and it is also very cool to learn that it is one of the only buildings that uses no metal nails in its structure.
During the first few days in Beijing, we went to Tiananmen Square, which is a huge 440-acre stone plaza in the heart of Beijing. And there were a lot of monuments and museums that had ancient Chinese artifacts. And there's also a entrance to the Forbidden City in the plaza.
In Beijing, we also visited the Liyuan Peking Opera Theater. Personally, it was one of my favorites. I enjoyed seeing the elaborate costumes of the actors there and the singing, dancing, and martial arts that they utilized during the show. And they also wore very colorful makeup, and it continues to be a significant part of China's cultural heritage today.
Well, at the new Beijing City Library, we got to see a lot of cool modern architecture modeled after the Four Seasons, which I really liked. And we also got to use their massive database to see any of the books in their network. I thought that was nice.
While Beijing, we also got to experience a non-traditional tea tasting ceremony where we got to try different types of tea such as oolong tea, jasmine, and black tea. My personal favorite was black tea. It was a really interesting. We also, after Beijing, we visited Xi'an, which was a really fun experience. There were a lot of different things that we did there. One thing that really stuck out to me was being able to experience the high-speed bullet train. It went about 500 miles per hour. You could really see like the scenery passing by. It was just a really cool experience. They had you could order like fast food or like normal food like on the train. There was a dining area. It was super cool. It was really good.
Well, in Xi'an, we also got to see the famed terracotta warriors, which are regarded as the eighth wonder of the world by a lot of people. And we also got to learn about the purpose of the site and some of the artifacts that were buried there.
While we were in Xi'an, we got to visit this beautiful ancient city wall where we were able to rent some bikes for a very cheap price. And we just got to ride around on the city wall and just feel the breeze. And plus, a lot of locals would come up to us, especially while we were biking, and practice their English with us. And I got to practice my Chinese. And it was just, they were so friendly, and it was a wonderful experience.
In Xi'an, we visited the Great Town Everbright City, and we were able to view its beautiful landscape and be able to participate in its nighttime activities. So they had a lot of vendors there where we could buy food or go shopping where we could buy souvenirs. There was also a water fountain show, and we also got to listen to some music from a concert that was there.
After biking on the city wall in Xi'an, we went to a studio where a professional calligrapher who was also a local university professor taught us how to write calligraphy using high quality brushes and ink and paper. And as someone who really likes to draw, this was a really fun experience because it was really traditional and we got to learn about the ancient significance of calligraphy in China.
So throughout the trip, we got to have so many different tasting experiences. Every time we ate, it was something new. And my personal favorite was the homemade buns and zongzi by Mrs. Zhu's family members, just because they had that homemade love. But I also really enjoyed just the many different ways that Chinese food can express culture through different sauces and tastes. And those calligraphy brushes on the slideshow, those are actually a dessert, and that's one of the things that stuck out to me the most, as well as the Peking roast duck, because both of them are things that I've never tried before and that I didn't really expect to see, but I really enjoyed. Oh, sorry. So throughout this trip, I knew going into it that it would be such an amazing learning experience and opportunity, but I think it really exceeded my expectations just in how much I got to see and like educate myself on while in China. I mean, we got to converse with locals. We learned how to like purchase things, and we learned every day like practical uses of using Chinese. And we also just had so many amazing cultural like experiences, like seeing the terracotta warriors on the Great Wall, or learning about calligraphy. Like we saw a very wide array of Chinese like culture and aspects. So I think that BCLU did a very good job at planning and programming this trip to make sure we learned as much as we could.
Hi, my name is Waunakee Lee again, and I'm honored to be the Chinese Club president at our high school. And it's my job to synthesize everything that they told us to what we're doing in the school. And so me and my co-president, Henry, he's in the bottom photo over there, get to run these immersive and hands-on meetings to all students in the high school. They don't have to take Chinese class, they don't have to speak Chinese, the language at all. And we kind of are trying to close the cultural gap and create appreciation for the Chinese culture and all of their traditions. And so our typical meetings will have a snack with some cultural videos that usually Mrs. Chu brings in, and then a craft, whether it's lanterns like you see or mooncakes, depending on the festival or tradition that we're bringing light to. And to kind of just tell you a little bit about what we're hoping to do this year, we're hoping that we can hold a lunar festival like we have done in past years in the high school commons. That will be with traditional dances, songs, music, arts, all of those kinds of things to kind of reach the outer Waunakee community that doesn't get to come to these Chinese Club meetings. And then we also hope that we could make food and bring them to elderly homes around Waunakee, kind of more also to outreach and show the people what we learn and talk about why Chinese Club is important to us. So thank you for listening to our presentation.
Thank you so much for the unique educational opportunity. Thank you so much for supporting us. Our students expanded their global perspective, and they got opportunity to apply Chinese language skills. Thank you very much. Have a great night. Also, by the way, I fried some dumplings here because I thought it's dinner time. So yeah, just take your time. Yeah, try. Help yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, great job.
Rosie, hold on. Does anybody have any questions?
I just want to thank you for sharing, and it's just heartwarming to hear about the experience that you had in China, and to bring that back to us was really important and meaningful, so thank you all. Anybody have any questions?
Okay, so before you all leave this evening, we do want to thank all of you for presenting this evening. This is amazing, it's wonderful. So thank you for being a part of the Warrior Spotlight. We do have a certificate of appreciation for each one of you. So when I call your name, if you will come forward, and then we're going to go out in the hallway and take a quick picture right in front of the building. Waunakee Lee. Jurgensen. Zoe Gabrielle. Caitlin Vandersloot. Ian Apps. Emily Gallagher. Karen Yee. And Megan Murphy.
Thank you. Yep, we'll keep going. That was an interesting report. Moving on to board reports. If anybody on the board has done anything that they would like to report at this point in the last month? Share anything? Nope. So we talked a little bit through our book discussion on the board evaluation, and I think look at the link. As I said, you don't need to complete it until February. Look at the open-ended questions, please. Evaluate them as well. If there are things that you might like to add or delete, please feel free to bring that forward next month. So it's really just an opportunity for you to kind of survey what you need to do but you don't need to do it yet. It'll be a little bit later in the month. Any questions on the self-evaluation stuff? Okay, moving on to the spring board election. As I mentioned last month, we do have 2 seats that are up for re-election or election this year. My seat, I represent Town of Westport, cities of Middleton and Madison, and I will declare that I am running again. And the other seat is Don Hendricks, representing the village of Waunakee, and we don't know yet.
Can I just say that I would encourage anyone who's thinking of running to know that there are resources available. I think it's intimidating in the beginning to know where to get started, and a great resource in this district office is Rebecca, to help navigate the paperwork that's necessary and what those first steps are towards candidacy, and know that there's support in the community to help people navigate what that
Absolutely, and if anybody is interested in running, I'd be more than happy to sit down and kind of walk you through the process of how and what it entails and what being on the board means in terms of time and commitment and, you know, what the position is like. So, yes, thank you for adding that, Dawn. Moving on to committee reports, starting with curriculum committee.
Sorry. We didn't, I'll call Tim Schellep to speak to the course proposals part of the curriculum committee meeting. I'm just gonna turn it straight over to you. Is that all right?
Absolutely. Okay, well, good evening, everybody. I think at the curriculum committee meeting last month, we had some great updates from Student Services and Special Education, Tiffany and Lisa. But our action items are these 4 course proposals. And so hopefully the information in board book was sufficient, but I will briefly summarize what we have here. So I'm going to start with the 2 courses in the middle that are both middle school courses. They are middle school expansions of programs we have successfully debuted at the high school level in recent years. So one is the Unified Physical Education, which you are probably all familiar with, but that's the concept of having an inclusive PE setting with some different activities to maximize student engagement. It's been highly successful at the high school level, and we're excited about the opportunity to expand it to the middle school. The other one that's an expansion down to the middle school is EL English, and this is a specialized English course that is intended for multilingual learners who are at the various early, the earliest stages of language acquisition, typically newcomers to the United States. And again, we've had this type of programming at the high school. It has been very successful. We are excited to provide this opportunity for our middle school students who fit this kind of profile as well. The other 2 courses are at the high school, and you know, whenever we add in new courses, it's we have a very large catalog of courses at the high school. We have a lot of resources. We can do a lot of things, but it's often good when we bring something new in to look carefully at what we can potentially prune. And so the first course, AP Computer Science Principles Cybersecurity. Within our computer science set of courses at the high school, for a long time, we have offered an IT Hardware Essentials course. That is kind of your traditional break fix. The hardware isn't working, how do we repair it? That's still important, but it's within the scope of computer science. It's less important than it might have been in previous decades, and the course hasn't run in recent years. So what we're doing is we're taking that off our course offerings and we are bringing in an additional AP course. Now, Computer Science Principles is designed to be more conceptual compared to AP Computer Science A, which we've offered for a long time. But the exciting thing about this is that there are some variants for how you can offer AP Computer Science Principles. One of them is cybersecurity. And cybersecurity is more important now than it's ever been. We have a lot of student interest in this. And so we're excited to be able to provide this opportunity for our students. It's a growing field. And in addition to being a growing field, it can be a very intellectually stimulating area of study. The bottom course, English 10 AP Seminar, is being brought forward as a replacement for Advanced English 10, or perhaps a revisioning of what AE 10 could look like. And so AP Seminar does not have to be an English course. It's a course that is part of the AP Research capstone track. Seminar is the first course, research is the second. At this stage, we're just bringing seminar in, but it's much more focused on students conducting research, longer-term projects, longer deadlines, and a big value placed on the presentation of your research, both individually and sometimes in group settings. There is an exam at the end of the course, but much of the course is scored presentations, which actually aren't scored locally. They are captured as artifacts, and they're sent up to College Board for scoring. So we think these are great opportunities for our kids. Due to the nature of the scope of the middle school courses and the nature of the substitution for the high school courses, we do not envision any FTE impacts. The cost for adding these courses is actually very minimal. But we think the opportunities for our kids are a lot more than minimal. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have before you move to a vote.
It's exciting to see cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Talking about a hot field, great, learning development early on to help steer kids where they want to go. That was exciting to see.
That's what we hope.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions for Tim before we vote on these? So I would take a motion for this list.
So moved. Seconded.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim. I would really encourage everyone, if you haven't taken the opportunity to listen to the curriculum committee meeting, there were some really good reports at that meeting from both Lisa and Tiffany. They were wonderful reports, so please take the time to do that. Moving on to our co-curricular committee, and we have several new clubs that would like to be introduced. Who's gonna take it?
I'm happy to take it. So as you saw, there are a number of clubs that submitted requests. We had a very enlightening yet succinct conversation during co-curricular committee regarding this. We talked a little bit about, the benefit is to help kids find where their people are, right? And especially finding kids that can, share the same interests that they have in a positive, constructive environment with, adult and teacher supervision. It's a win-win situation. Brian was all for it, right, Brian? There was only one that actually requested a budget is very nominal. The writing club asked for $200, right? Outside of that, there was no other budget request.
Anybody want any specific information or questions on any of these? We have both Nick and Brian here in the background. And as Chris said, clubs are great. Kids need to find their people and things that they have a common interest in, and they ebb and flow and come and go, and it's great to see new groups. So I would take a motion on approving all the clubs at this point.
Motion
to approve.
Second.
Any other questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Thank you. Moving on to Facility Committee. Steve, can I turn that over to you?
Yes, thank you, Joan. Rebecca, would you mind opening up first yep, thank you. So what Rebecca's opening up right now is what we call the maintenance tracking spreadsheet that we share with the facility committee during each monthly meeting. I just want to share with all board members one of the changes that we made for the last facility committee meeting. So in the areas in yellow, what I want to share is we removed the prior high school savings that were on the spreadsheet of about 1.3 million to take them off the funding source for maintenance and to put them to the side. So as you as board members then will have the opportunity to consider reallocating those funds towards the high school campus project where you approved the design last month. And then secondly, the projected middle school savings was reduced by 1.2 million to pair with the 1.3 million from the high school to create a $2.5 million budget that would be provided as an option for the school board once you have the bids back for the short-term work at the high school for next summer. So the point of doing that is to make sure that as the facility committee is considering maintenance projects, we don't want to spend those funds twice. So we only want to have those funds saved in one location. So we did not want to continue to have them on this maintenance list. So they're basically being saved at this point until the board makes a decision in 2026 regarding the high school campus. So you could bounce out of that, Rebecca. And then the committee did take a look at a few requests this month. If you want to open that up, please. So the facility committee did recommend approval of the projects on the list, with the exception at Arboretum Elementary School, the salt spreader was removed from the list due to the request of the head custodian at that building due to a lack of storage at this time for that piece of equipment. But the committee did move forward with the rest of the items on the request. We also did talk about having the operations team, which would be Rick with technology, John with facilities, as well as Dustin with security, to meet with all of the building principals and Nick to begin putting together priority project lists for the committee in the next couple of months. So you'll see that probably in the February timeframe. That would be related to the maintenance projects funds that you saw on the previous spreadsheet. So at this point, there is a recommendation from the facility committee to move forward with the items you see on the screen, minusing out the one Arboretum salt spreader. So we'd be happy to answer any questions that might exist on this list that's being recommended for tonight.
Any questions from any board members? If not, I would take a recommendation for the list minus the 5,600 for that Arboretum.
Make a motion to approve the list minus the Arboretum salt spreader.
Seconded.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Moving on to the Budget Committee. Mark, are you gonna start?
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to you, Steve. We have an actionable item on the agenda tonight regarding our 4K proposal, so Steve, I'll let you take over.
All right, thank you, Mark. So to begin with, the first item on their 26-27 budget planning is not an action item tonight. But we wanted the rest of the board members who are not on the budget committee to have an opportunity to start thinking about this topic. And really the main point of the conversation we had with the budget committee was to be aware of the topic of staffing levels and then open enrollment options that are approved by the school board annually in January. So as I shared with the budget committee, the open enrollment approval process in January 2026 is probably going to be one of the more important ones in the time that I've been here. The reason for that is the current 4K class moving into kindergarten is smaller than what we've seen in the past. And we either need to consider opening up more spots for open enrollment students, or we need to look at reallocating staffing amongst different grade levels. We also have a similar issue occurring in another grade level. The bottom line is the board will be faced in January with thinking through whether or not you want to keep staffing levels as they're currently set up, which would open up many more spots for open enrollment students, or consider changing the sections that we currently have planned. So all board members are welcome to take a look at the document that's included in your board book. You're welcome to take a look at the budget committee meeting from last month. I'm happy to meet with anyone if anyone wants to talk about this topic further. But I just wanted to make sure everyone has this on their radar, because as soon as winter break is done, this is going to be right on your table for an action item next month. Are there any thoughts that anybody wanted to share on this topic, or if not, we'll jump into the next topic, which is an action item.
Good to go.
Okay. All right, so the next item we are requesting for consideration as an action item tonight. So Rebecca, could you scroll down and just show the attachments for a moment? So I just want to make sure, you don't have to open them, Rebecca. I just want to share with you what's all included, and at any time we can bring any of them up on the screen. So we do have a letter that would go with a proposed contract, a letter and the contract that would go to our 4K partners depending on what the board approves tonight. We do have a Google Sheet which is meant to identify the district investment in 4K above and beyond the annual payment that is made on a per student basis. We did include the fall census numbers because the census numbers are going to be important, again, as we consider the number of open enrollment spots for 4K next year. Open enrollment has also been a discussion between district administration and our 4K partners as well. So it's an important conversation for 5K. It's as important for 4K for that conversation as well. You do see on there a timeline. So you've seen this before at the special board meeting in November. We did share with you dates between now and February. So nothing has changed from what we saw before. But again, we're happy to bring that up and go over it. The scenarios. You've seen the financial scenarios before. We will talk about a new one that's at your spot tonight that was requested today by a board member. And then the last attachment is related to the state budget and the changes in the new 4K program that's being offered by the state. So Rebecca, if you want to go back up to the notes again. Okay, so the budget committee did spend quite a bit of time on this topic, following up from the board's special meeting. Highlighted in bold, you would see the budget committee recommendation. So the recommendation of the budget committee is to increase the stipend amount from $3,600 to $5,000. Also, the second recommendation is to consider additional requests for 4K open enrollment seats in January 2026. And Miranda Moe, who is here, has helped us calculate out the availability of open enrollment spots. If you do want to know more about that, Miranda is certainly the expert in that topic, but we'll also be counting on her to help us with that in January. Basically, what that means is a renewed commitment from the district to take a look at that as far as the capacity for 4K in January, as far as what spots would truly be available if the board so chose to in 4K. And the third item is to form a 4K task force in preparation for the 27-28 school year. There would be a number of items that this 4K task force would address. As board members, you do know that we've had ongoing dialogue with our 4K partners. There's a number of topics that they brought forward to discuss. There's a number of topics that the district would want to bring forward. We'd want to have parents involved. We'd want to have a board member involved. We'd want to have involvement from special education, our 4K partners, business partners in the district, basically a transparent task force that would have a very clear set of tasks to take on, and then make sure the whole community is aware of what that discussion looks like for our 4-year-olds in the community. We have talked about, you could see some data in there about 4-year-olds and who continued in our district. There's some other notes that we put in there as well. Administration did take a look at some other options with how we could calculate the dollar amount. Right now, a percentage dollar amount is complicated and probably not the best approach to take. Given the November 2024 operational referendum, what the purpose of that was. So as an example, that referendum had a specific purpose to increase hourly staff pay, was one of those specific reasons in both this school year and next school year. So it's very difficult to tie right now the 4K reimbursement to a percentage. We think a flat dollar amount makes more sense. If we didn't have an operational referendum that was being implemented, a percentage approach might make more sense. And so that might be something I think the task force could look at as a possibility, depending on the total scope of the topics that the task force takes on. And then also adjustments to the per student amount based on enrollment. That was a discussion that took place at the budget committee. Would need to average around $100 per 20 students to be a break-even scenario. So that was something I think, Chris, you brought up. What would that look like? And so just keep in mind that in general, a break-even scenario would be about $100 additional reimbursement for 20 additional students in the program. The reason for that is you would be increasing the per student payment, not just on the 20 new students, it would be on all of them in the program. So that's why it's about $100 for every 20 students. Mark did reach out and requested an analysis of another scenario, which if you don't mind, I'll talk about for a moment. So at your spot, there's a handout with all of the scenarios you've seen before. There's a new one at the bottom. The new one at the bottom focuses in on the Budgets Committee recommendation of $5,000 per student, but then also projects forward that some 4K partners would choose not to accept that offer, and in response, the board would then choose to offer a 4K program in our buildings, but then ultimately not be able to count all of the 4-year-olds in the community because some centers, again, in this scenario, would not be partnering with the district. So that's that scenario at the bottom. I know there's a lot of different financial scenarios we've looked at. I think when you think big picture for a moment, the path that we've been discussing as a school board over the last couple of months have been to engage our community partners in a process to continue the partnership next year. That would why we're proposing tonight a contract offer. That's not occurring in every district right now. In some districts, the school boards are deciding to have 4K completely be a district-based program. Others are looking at increasing their reimbursement. Some are looking at a hybrid option. So across the state, school boards are responding differently to this situation. We wanted to start with a response by increasing the investment to our 4K partners. you can see on the calendar, our request was an approval tonight to then get the contract offer out right away, to ask our 4K partners to respond before winter break. After winter break, the budget committee will meet again. We would like to share the results of that with the budget committee. That will then directly impact open enrollment. And then obviously that'll directly impact the direction that the board chooses to go and whether or not the board chooses to explore on-site options for 4K for next fall. So that's the background. If any budget committee members want to add any additional comments, please feel free to do so.
Steve, I think it's also important to note, the recommendations were voted on by the budget committee individually. And for the first one, it was 2 yeses, 1 no, 2 and 3 passed unanimously, 3-0 vote passed unanimously. I think that's important information for you all to have as well.
Steve, I appreciate you taking the time to look at the per student costs and everything that's invested. Do you think are there any additional costs that weren't included in that amount? When you think about like time for our providers and staff to go from the schools to the various sites, looking at, frankly, Dr. Brown, some of those other costs that are associated with it. I think you did a great job outlining that, but I'm wondering, is there something else that wasn't captured?
Yeah, so what Chris is referring to is, Rebecca, could you scroll down a little bit? Yeah, thank you. The Google Sheet, would you mind opening that? So Miranda helped with identifying the direct investment that the district is making into 4K beyond the reimbursement amount that we're making on a per student basis. So then Allie did help with identifying the costs that do go with those investments. I would describe those as direct investments. This does not capture what I would call indirect, whether it would be the fact that the business office is processing the payments, the superintendent's overseeing all programs in the district. So the DPI has a definition of direct investments and indirect costs.
Mm-hmm.
So this would be direct costs, but this would not include what the DPI calls indirect costs for a program.
Sure. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
I'd just like to share a couple thoughts, and I did oppose the proposal. My concern is the long-term impact of whatever we decide tonight. And quite frankly, there are only 3 scenarios that really are financially sustainable for us. And those would be scenario 4, where we offer the 5,000 and we keep 100% of the providers in the system. Scenario 5, where we would keep 100% of the 4K within our actual Waunakee School District buildings ourselves and take over the program. And then possibly scenario 6, where we offer the 5.5. The rest of the numbers, where we have less than 100% of the providers in the system, long-term, it's a lot of money. We're talking multiple millions. If you calculate it over 5 years, it's anywhere from $3 million a year to $4 million a year deficit. And so tonight's decision, I think, is really important that we make a decision. What we decide tonight is sustainable in year 1, no matter what happens. But year 2, 3, 4, 5, it's some long-term serious financial issues that we would face. So that's why I was looking long-term at the budget meeting versus a 1-year solution.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important that whatever we decide tonight is our best effort to keep 100% of the 4K providers with us in some way. And so, that's pretty much it, I think.
I appreciate that, Mark. I think that, I know the recommendation from the administration had been 5.5. And I saw the discussion among the budget committee, but, we've heard from a couple of the 4K providers over the last week or two about, why 5.5 is a number that it makes sense for them to work with. We also have, the full list of requests from the 4K sites, and I totally understand why we can't do the majority of this in the time frame that we have right now. And, that's why we're setting up this task force, but 5.5, that is something we can do right now. It is kind of one of a couple things we can do right now. And so I would be in favor of doing 5.5.
The implication for this year, because we have passed the budget, is 5.5 does put us over budget. It means some of the funds that we would use to help redirect to fund it have already been moved out of facilities and into funding the short-term capital needs for the high school. And we have to look to other areas to fund it, whereas the 5,000 is within budget. In terms of long-term implications, I hear you. I don't want you to feel like I'm not hearing you. I think part of the reason of having the task force is to put forward that long-term plan and not, I 100% believe in strategy and having a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year outlook to things, but these budget implications are in the event that we make this decision and we make this decision again next year and we make the exact same decision the following year rather than making adjustments based on what the task force comes forward with. And I think that there's ways to redirect the ship in the following year with the time given to plan accordingly and put forward that 1, 3, 5 year plan. And this is more of an immediate, what can we do now? And what we can do now is budget for what is a 40% increase of what had been provided in the past. I don't know about you guys, but I've never in my entire life had a 40% raise in 1 year. And that's what we are talking about providing is an increase of 40% over the year before to maintain a relationship.
But they're still seeing that as a cut from what they could get if they go with the state. And they have to make that decision right now. And if we lose them as partners right now, that's not, that is a long-term loss.
I think it should be noted though too, if it is a $5,000 option we're providing, it's actually $6,100 we're providing, and then some with the indirect costs. So it's not, they're getting a significant contribution from the district for the service they provide. And I think we need to be mindful of that too. We're not just looking at 5,000, we're looking at 61 plus unknown indirect compensation.
Yeah, and I agree with Dawn. I fully feel clearly that the $5,000 is clearly warranted, right? Looking at all those other direct and indirect costs, to your point, Mark, that adds up. My other concern is that, to Dawn's point, if we start taking money that isn't budgeted and doesn't exist, where does that start to then come from? Not just the first year, right, but to your long-term perspective, it puts us in a deficit every single year, where we will then be going back to the community to ask for a referendum shortly for a number of other projects. We know from our standpoint that what the state offers is not always what the state delivers, right? And there's some variability in this program with how much providers can get based on the participation across the state. My biggest concern is we're knowingly putting ourselves into a significant deficit with there's no pathway to come out of it. And I appreciate the administration putting together the 5,000 because it was the maximum that could be allowed without putting our overall budget into a significant deficit.
Carly, you mentioned that they would be getting more going to state. They don't.
Well, they don't know that.
They don't know that.
But the
right?
number that is on paper in that budget program is more.
But the number, though, is based upon, the current number is based upon 9,000 4K students.
Right. Which
In
they're
the
most
state,
likely
in the
will
state
be
that
more.
offers,
Yeah.
yes, 50,000 4K students.
So, from what I've been told, base payment from the other program will be 5. If you have everybody that enrolls from 4-year-olds in Wisconsin, the base payment will be 5. So if everybody doesn't enroll, but you don't know that either, like you don't know that going in, but the base payment will be 5, is what I've been told.
And this adjustment will be dependent on participation.
Yes. So if every 4-year-old enrolls that's eligible, when the DCF has calculated it out, base payment will be 5. That's minimum.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just conscientious about this latest state budget, right? We don't know what the next budget's gonna bring us. We know that we're constantly being asked to do more with less, right? We had quite a bit of money that district lost due to state equalization aid, right? And we gotta do our best for our community, our schools, and our taxpayers to mitigate the loss of additional students.
To reiterate what you mentioned in the budget meeting, I appreciate, I think, I'm in agreement with what you're saying to fiscal standpoint, I think makes the most logical sense.
Nice shot.
I
Did you want
guess,
to take them one at a time?
when we go to a vote, yeah, I would like to take them one at a time.
Did you want us to talk about them one at a time? Or should we just get the conversation going on the other two as well?
Let's finish the conversation on that first one, if anybody has. I mean, I see both parts. I see that when we lose students, it isn't just a loss to the district, it's a loss to every taxpayer in our district. Because when we have a budget, if the state doesn't give us the money, we have to go to the taxpayers for every dollar that shifts. So when you look at those scenarios, the shift is, it goes back to the taxpayers. So this has to be a community thought-out plan and decision. So I see where we are this year. I appreciate the recommendation for the administration to go to 5,000. I appreciate your words, Heather, knowing from the providers that you're in contact with that will be the base pay. I think it's important that we keep that in mind, and it is the recommendation from our administration. So I guess I will feel I have to support the 5,000. And I appreciate that we are setting up that task force because for long term, it's extremely important. And I hope our partners understand we didn't ask for the problem. We're trying to find money in the second year of a budget where we already thought we had the blocks in the pegs, and now we have to rearrange them. So it's a very difficult scenario to be put in. We really would love to stay the partnership. I mean, personally, I think that's best for our community. We do not want to have any centers lose to the point where they can't keep their businesses going. I think that will affect, families and far more people in the whole arena of needs. So it's a difficult situation. So I don't know. I would like to take them one at a time. The first recommendation of the stipend alone, and then we can talk about the open enrollment and the other. So, anybody else want to make any comments on the stipend?
I just have one comment and question. You know, similar to Dawn, all three of my kids went through community sites for 4K and had an exceptional experience. Right, and I can name the site that we were at, but they were all phenomenal. The teachers were great, and it was a long-term relationship where they still have their friends from daycare at 4K, right? That they still are friends with today. So that, to your point, that's not taken lightly on me. Something that Dawn brought up, I am not opposed to the fact of us having the ability to look back at the contract based on the fluctuations with the state budget, enrollment numbers, to your point, Steve, that if we had significant enrollment that could assist in offsetting some of those costs, I think it could be advantageous if we had a regular, to your point, right, 1, 3, 5-year plan to see what it is and ensuring that there's some measures in place for us to be able to readjust. But as I said before, I can't, knowing everything that we have going on, the uncertainty with the state budget, I can't be in support of going into a deficit.
Okay, so is anybody ready to make a motion on?
I'll make a motion to increase the stipend amount from 3,600 to 5,000.
Second.
And I think I will take this as roll call. Carly?
No.
Myself, yes. Ted?
Yes.
Dawn?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Heather?
Yes.
And Chris?
Yes.
So that passes 6-1. So the next thing is additional request for 4K open enrollment seats in January of 2026. Steve will be putting those numbers together, bringing them to the budget. But I would like any discussion first and then a motion.
Before we go forward, I just want to make sure we're doing this correctly. Given Heather's personal involvement, should she be abstaining from these votes?
She wouldn't financially benefit from it.
Okay, I just want, because I know when we voted on staff things, I had to abstain.
If it's a financial gain to your family,
Okay.
then yes, but it is not for her.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure we had, I
And
didn't
I
know this coming
appreciate you,
back.
yeah, I appreciate that.
Thank you for checking.
But, yeah, I think we're good with
Yeah.
that. Okay, so, discussion of the open enrollment seats.
Monica had stated for the board, but it was a unanimous decision to endorse the thought of going to open up our 4K open enrollment. We look forward to seeing what numbers are presented. I think it's a good opportunity for both the providers and our district, given the availability of those seats in our 5K as well. So I think it's one that is a easy marriage of mutual interest.
And also with our kindergarten class declining, having those additional potential students in our district would be beneficial.
Well, and for those who weren't, didn't see the video of it, Chris did bring up an important point too, that if we're going to do this, we really need to market what we're doing so that people really know what's available.
How do you have an idea how we will be doing that? Marketing it?
The discussion, I think, was working with Annie to,
Yeah, the discussion previously was that wasn't information the district necessarily pushed out, right, about additional open enrollment seats.
Into other communities.
Correct.
So it has to be, it can't just be on our Waunakee community page, it needs to somehow, we have to grow awareness with throughout Dane County. Yeah.
And so Dr. Brown and Andy were talking about being proactive on social media, getting that information out to expand that reach, just because that's not something that proactively done before, but it sounded like there was an initial plan for how that would be structured, utilizing Andy's talents to help get that message out.
I imagine working with centers as well.
Yes, that as well, right.
And that's one of the things that we said too during the budget committee meeting. And I know in the contract, Steve, there was a stipulation, right, in terms of marketing, that doesn't prohibit the centers from marketing, right, 4K services, but it has to be done with approval from the district, correct? Is there any other context, or did I? So I mean, I think that'd be an important aspect, right? So everyone can benefit from the opportunity. I also think it's good just to have an evaluation of the district looking at that marketing, if it's a direct program that we're being tied to.
So the last piece again, I didn't know.
I think it's good to have that with written approval from the school district, to keep that in there. If it's a direct program tied to us, we should be seeing what's going on.
All right, any other comments on the opening up the enrollment seats in January? Again, with Steve's help and your recommendation through the budget committee, we'll be seeing that. So I would take a motion.
Motion to approve the open enrollment recommendation.
Second?
Any questions on that? I will do that by voice roll as well. Carly?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Ed?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Heather?
Yes.
And Chris?
Yes.
Thank you. And lastly is creating a task force to look long-term, the 3, the 5, what does the future hold in general for this program? Comments on that?
I would maybe just ask, as we look to put that together, after talking to some of the providers in our district this past week, just to make sure that they have a seat at the table and can talk about that. I want to make sure that their concerns are heard about, the burden of them going site to site, transportation, driving, all those different pieces. So I think it'd be great to have them have a seat and be engaged in those discussions.
So they're, exactly.
Great.
So, will you or Miranda take the lead on kind of coming up with that?
So we have an initial group of people in mind, Ally from Steve's office, and looking at one business partner for the initial conversations. I think it would be helpful to have a board member as part of these conversations, and certainly maybe not all the community sites, but representation from the community sites as an initial part of the conversation to outline what we want to do. What exactly are we trying to accomplish, including some of the asks that were laid out to us in an email. So there's some groundwork that we need to lay for that, and we'll be more than happy to report our progress to you as we move along in the process.
Is it appropriate to set a timeline of when we could expect to have that task force kind of formed? Like,
We can include that as part of, well, our goal is early spring, to get it up and running early spring.
Like March-ish, April?
February.
February, okay,
Yeah,
great,
starting
great.
February if we can.
I just hope that we can get that up and rolling as soon as possible, because there are a lot of
moving parts
there are. Okay, any other discussion on the developing of the task force or questions around that? If not, I would take a motion on that.
Motion to approve the task force.
Seconded.
I think we can just do that one. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Thank you. All right, and that ends the budget. Thank you. So administrative reports.
Yes, I'll just take that one. Lisa John Doe and Tiffany Loken did an amazing job of presenting at our last curriculum committee meeting, and hopefully there were lots of data points in both of their presentations. So hopefully you have an opportunity to take a look at the committee meeting, and if you have any questions, Lisa and Tiffany both are here to respond to any questions you might have, or comments or questions if there's anything anyone wants to add. Going once. No questions? So thank you, Tiffany and Lisa, for your.
Thanks for staying all night.
But then we have the summary of the report card.
So Tiffany's gonna come on up.
Jim and Amy, or just Tim?
Both. So, Amy, you wanna come on up as well? And so, Tim and Amy both will give you the granular details of our state accountability report card. Just want to remind board and our community of our academic achievement goal, which is by 2029, all of our buildings, including the district, will significantly exceed expectations. You see in our report card, of which Tim will share with you shortly, that we made some significant gains and leaps in many of our buildings, and so I would suggest to our community that we're well on our way on that journey. I think in addition to our buildings significantly exceeding expectations by 2029, we also have a goal of at least increasing by 2 points every year. And so I will just share with you 6 out of 7 of our schools, including the district, went up. 4 out of 7, including the district, are significantly exceeding expectations. And 3 of 7 are exceeding expectations. And so there are many strategies we are employing along the way in our idea of continuous improvement, which we always know that's every school district's goal, is to constantly work around what can we improve upon, what can we do better, and also what are we doing well in these spaces. So I want to say kudos to the team, our central office staff, as well as our building level administrators and our teachers. It truly takes a village to be able to do this work together. And I would say the best is yet to come as we continue to move forward and provide a high quality teaching and learning experience for all of our students and families. So with that being said, I will turn it over and let you all take it away.
Okay, so we'll go through the presentation. In general, slight preference for questions at the end, but if you have a burning question on a certain slide, just feel free to pause while the idea is fresh and well formed in your mind. So, first of all, just remember that what you see here, there's a methodology for the state. The state works very hard, though, meeting with stakeholders and technical experts to create an accountability system that is broadly applicable to the diversity of school institutions and districts within the state of Wisconsin. And the acknowledgement of that is we're a state that serves many communities, and what you see on the report card is reflective of performance that a lot of people have a hand in. And work we're engaged in is highly motivated and guided by our mission, vision, and equity statements, which are set by you as a board. So, points of pride, lots to be proud about, and while the best is yet to come, present's not so bad. Lot to take pride in. We are blessed to have a supportive community. We have an outstanding professional and classified staff. It's just wonderful that we get to, contribute to the education of our community's children, who are the future for all of us. This is the board's goal, the goal you have set for us, that Dr. Brown just described. And so that is kind of a backdrop to all of this. Feel free to ask any clarifying questions as we go through. Just a little bit about what the report card is. You've probably seen this all before, but again, this is an accountability report that reflects both state and federal requirements. Because it does provide statewide data on a well-understood methodology, it is also a good flashlight that we can use for school improvement. One thing that is important to know this year is there were some methodological changes, and because of that, parts of the report card that would normally use 3 years of data, if they have to do with student achievement due to some cut score changes that occurred at DPI, this year it's 2 years of data, so you can have an apples to apples comparison. Last year is 3. There were some special statistical adjustments. They've rolled off 2 years of data this year. We'll return to 3 years of data being on a progressive average next year. And I think another thing to acknowledge is in an attempt to reflect the unique characteristics of every school community, there is a section of the report card that is weighted differently depending on whether the school or district has certain percentages of economically disadvantaged students. So what that means, even though our schools are fairly similar to each other, the exact weights of the growth percentage contribution and the achievement percentage contribution, even internally, vary site to site. Here we go. So I think the key thing is these are the basic areas. There are 4 priority areas that accumulate up. And I think a key thing that we've been working on, under the direction of Dr. Brown, is really focusing increasingly on the target group, which statewide, every school, every district has a target group that's designated, and that's, generally speaking, the lowest 25% of performances on the previous year's state assessments. Now, what that does mean is that in our upper grade school, most or all of the students calculate towards that. One little uniqueness to keep in mind is that for our elementary schools, because the first time students are assessed is in the spring of the 3rd grade year, the target group is really only 4th graders at our elementary schools. So that's just, keep that in the back of your mind if it's of interest. So we have 5 levels. Our goal is to get everybody to significantly exceeds. Happy to say, as Dr. Brown noted, everybody's in exceeds or significantly exceeds, and the majority are in the significantly exceeds. So key takeaways, this is the TLDR. Overall, performance is stable to improving. Our total score was the highest in Dane County. We were second last year behind Wisconsin Heights. That changed this year. Of our statewide peer group of 22 districts, we moved up to 10th, which is up 1 place from last year. And you can see some other places. The areas where we made the greatest movement were in the target group area and the growth area. And although there were, as I mentioned, changes to the calculation, there were no methodological changes that affected the growth calculation. So we saw important gains in the growth area, and those gains were not in any way attributable to methodological changes. That was a year-on-year, completely valid gain. Some takeaways. Just our last 3 years on here. You can see our total score and the priority score at the bottom, but I do want to highlight some trajectories we're seeing with 4 other numbers that show up on the report card. So you can see our percent of students who attend under open enrollment. You can see our percent of students with disabilities. You can see our percent of students who are economically disadvantaged and our percent who are English learners. And we see stability in our students with disabilities percentage. We see gains in other areas. So to put this in context, in the big spreadsheet file the state releases with all of our report card information from across the state, they have one for districts, one for schools. there are 421 reportable districts this year. So our percentage of open enrollment, although it's up, ranks us 311 out of 421. So our percentage of open enrollment is below the state median, significantly so. Our students with disabilities at 9.9% ranks 400th out of 421, which means we have a relatively low percentage of students who are identified as disabilities in our district. For context, we have 50 districts out of that 421 in the state of Wisconsin where 20% or more of the students are identified as having a disability. We are one of the lowest percentage of economically disadvantaged students in the state. We are definitely seeing an uptick in this that's worth noting, but even with that increase from 7.6 to 9.3, that places us 14th out of the 421 overall districts in the state, and within K-12 districts, we are 7th in the state. And last but not least, that percentage of English language learners at 3.8, that's 119th in the state. So, you know, you see trends, but sometimes the question is, how does that stack up statewide? So, sharing that. Our district at a glance, you can see our scores at the top for the district, and then you can see where we rank for the overall score in the 4 priority areas, both in our Dane County group, which is 16 districts, and our benchmark group statewide of 22. Those districts are called out at the bottom. And so, again, overall, very positive picture. Our greatest improvements relative to our comparables, both in Dane County and statewide, were in the growth and target group area. Last year, these were lower numbers. They've moved up. Schools at a glance, you can see where our schools fall in here. Moving along a little bit more, this goes from the 4 areas to kind of expand what is in those 4 areas. Just pointing out, again, you know, we are very competitive within our benchmark group. These are districts that we compare ourselves to based on enrollment and percent economically disadvantaged. They're the districts that are most similar to us. If you want to think about it that way, they're probably the best yardstick, and we are in the middle of the pack depending on the indicators, sometimes higher, like in target group growth, ELA achievement, ELA growth, sometimes lower, like district chronic absenteeism. And that brings us to the end. So that was a lightning round, but again, you know, the picture is extremely positive, lots of gains, some of them in areas that did have some methodological changes, but gains in the areas that didn't have methodological changes either. So we know we're on the right track, and looking forward to bringing back even better news next year. And with that, Amy and I will be happy to handle any questions.
Tim or Amy, it seems like we have our on track category, when we have 99% graduation rate. But this seems like not a match to what's really happening. Where does the on track fall down?
So our on-track scores overall are high. They, on a rank basis, less so. If we were to look, you know, and this is kind of where I wish I had brought in some of the pictures from the report card here, but the distribution of these priority areas, one is not the same. And the one that is not the same is the on-track. So because of what is in the on-track, its attendance, its absenteeism, and its graduation rate, that distribution is really shifted to the right. So very small differences in performance can really move you on a ranked basis down pretty quickly just because everybody's crowded to the right side. But that said, some of that data is also lagged. So, you know, the academic assessments that contribute to growth and achievement. Those are multi-year averages, but you're getting data based on spring testing from this past spring that's reflected here. The graduation rate and the absenteeism and attendance rate is 1 year lagged back. So when we look at the on-track, it's a little bit dated compared to the other data. That's true for everybody. And I do think, you know, chronic absenteeism is something that, again, our students attend at greater rates than most districts in the state, but particularly when you get into our comparable groups with very similar demographics, all of those students are achieving at a greater rate. And definitely chronic absenteeism, as you heard from Dr. Brown, is something we've really begun to intensify our work on within the last year and change. Because as we looked at our data this time last year, it kind of flagged for us as an area we needed to move up in terms of priorities. And I'd say that's the biggest piece. You know, our graduation rate for the year after that's in here was actually higher than the year that's in there. So as the more recent years come in, that's highly variable from a ranking standpoint just because of the compression of the high.
Thank you. Any questions for Team Orton? Thank you very much for the information. It's great to hear. Good results.
Thank you, and thank you for your continued support, because it's important to have the goal, and it's important to have that high-level support that you around the table give us, give our teachers, give our entire school team to move this forward. So thank you.
Thank you. Also in our...
support others.
Also...
have the goal to have that high level.
Tim is back.
Tim, you did such a good job. One more time. Gonna
You've
put
been
Steve on our
recorded
job.
and now you're out there on social media.
That's the AI Tim.
One other administrative report
Can I
tonight
ask a
is...
question? As a board, wouldn't it be appropriate that we send a note of gratitude to our 6 buildings for the work they've done?
I think that's a great idea.
I mean, to me, it's something to celebrate.
Sure.
And-
Absolutely
and,
is. Yeah.
Oftentimes, as a board, we hear good news, but we think we hear and then it's out there. But if we could maybe have Annie create a message on behalf of the board, I think it would be really appropriate.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Mark. Good suggestion.
That's Dustin.
So the other administrative report is just the employee wellness clinic performance update that suggested that maybe we bring to the board. And I'll turn it over to Brian.
I guess just, you know, this is an item that we review monthly with the leadership of our health plan, Dean Health Plan by Medica and SSM. And it's also something that I review with our insurance committee, which meets quarterly. At that last meeting, Joan had mentioned that it's been a while since the board had seen this report. So I guess just offering it to you with an opportunity to, if you have any questions, I'm happy to address any of the information that's on there.
And I would just like to state, and I'm not sure, or I hope that people are aware that the clinic is available to board members. So you are welcome to also get services at our wellness clinic for any of those, you know, flu shots and any of those quick things that you might want to head over and do. But yeah, great news on our clinic, performing well, great services being added.
I mean, that's, I think, probably I should highlight that one, if we go to the very bottom, Rebecca, you know, that lower right-hand corner, there's obviously a significant investment by the district into having this clinic. But when we talk about a return, right, that is what we contribute in terms of paying for this, which is fixed and variable costs based on usage. And that's the amount that we save in claims on our medical insurance. And so, you know, and obviously the greater number of claims that you have, the more expensive future health plans would be. And so anything we can do to control that is always really helpful. And in addition to board members, this is available to every employee that we have, every regular employee that we have, regardless of whether they're on our health plan. And then anyone that has a family plan, their families would also be able to attend this. And so all employees, regular employees plus families that we insure.
Thank you, Brian. Any questions on that? Okay, which brings us to announcements. Any announcements, Dr. Brown?
The only announcement I have is this is the last board meeting of 2025. So it's a great celebration, not that it's the last, but it's been a great school year. And so look forward to 2026. And again, the best is yet to come. So thank you all for your support and your getting behind the work that we are trying to do in the spirit of continuous improvement to continue to advance the mission and vision of our school district. So thank you.
You are welcome. So we are into consent agenda. We can take it all or pull anything out. There are a few field trips in there, a foreign exchange student. I would like to acknowledge and thank Leroy Adler for a donation to our Yvonne Ziegler Scholarship Fund. Those are always appreciated by our students. So, if you want to pull anything out, please do. If not, I would take a motion to approve it all.
I move to approve it all.
Second?
Any questions on any parts of the consent agenda? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, thank you. Board business, anybody have any legislative updates? No. So, future meetings. Rebecca has done some background again. We have a budget committee meeting January 5th at 7:30. Facility committee meeting January 7th at 8 a.m. and policy January 15th at 7:30. And we also tonight would like to take action on the board workshop for the winter. We usually do these workshops summer and winter, and our our board workshop for the winter, for the season is February 19th from 5 to 7 at Heritage. And I would we need to motion that in because it's a full board.
Motion to have the date as described.
February 19th. Put it on your calendar. Well, Rebecca will put it on all our calendars.
It should be on there already.
Okay.
It is.
Second.
A second by Chris. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And she has a few that she's working on. She's got some on-deck ones now, too. She gave me a whole list. Perfect. Okay, I think that closes out our meeting tonight, so I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And happy holidays to everyone. We are